Breaking news today.
Please subscribe and then check notification box to get all breaking news alerts.
Yesterday afternoon, 26-year-old David Kelley walked into a small Sutherland Springs, Texas church and opened fire. Kelley sadly was able to massacre over 20 innocent people and injure 20 others before fleeing the scene of the horrific crime. While the small rural town is left grappling for answers as to why this happened, the residents have been dealt another severe blow that shows how evil people have become. The attack on the small rural church in Texas has left everyone in disbelief and struggling to make sense out of this senseless crime. How in the world could someone walk into church, armed to the teeth, and gun down church-going people in God's house? While we may never fully understand Kelley's motives behind the horrifying slaughter of innocents, there is one thing that is definitely for sure. The world that we live in is evil, and there are people out there who only wish to cause others unspeakable harm. So, while the families are grieving the loss of their loved ones, the left has decided to stoop to an all-time low and attack these heartbroken families and conservatives in general. There was a time that when people did not agree politically, they would just agree to disagree and let it go. However, in our brave new world of enlightenment, those niceties are no longer in play and have been traded for vitriolic speech and at times physical attacks. That was made evidently clear over the last 24 hours when Americans were gunned down in their church by a lunatic atheist on Sunday morning. While the majority of Americans have been offering heartfelt prayers and condolences for these families' tragic loss, angry liberals have called the shooting karma in action. This disgusting little gem was found on Twitter, where one compassionate liberal shared his heartfelt support to those affected by this tragedy. He then followed it up with this equally stomach-churning tweet. This is a person in real life. We got the picture from his Instagram account, here. His real name is Antonio E. Gonzalez. However, that is not the only person who took joy in these families' misery. In fact, there are plenty of others on the social media celebrating the death of innocent people in the spirit of they got what they deserved. Then there is the guy who just can't seem to turn off his cap locks to make a statement but can take joy in this unspeakable tragedy. Oh, and this reputable news site is rejoicing over Americans being killed while worshiping the Lord. Though those tweets are sick enough in itself, the left is not content in just stopping there. The liberals across the country are now using this tragedy to go after the NRA and, of course, the Second Amendment. Here is more from Free Beacon. Liberals have again blamed the National Rifle Association for the mass shooting at a church in Sutherland Springs, Texas, and disparaged those who sent thoughts and prayers to the victims. A lone gunman entered a church and began firing on Sunday, killing 26 people and injuring 20 others. The shooter was found dead with a gunshot wound in his vehicle a few miles from the church. It is unclear if the shooter shot himself or was shot by a resident who returned fire at the gunman. Authorities have identified the shooter as 26-year-old David Kelley and said he used the Ruger AR-556 rifle. Business Insider reports the gunman shouldn't have been able to legally possess a firearm. David Patrick Kelley, the man authorities saw killed 26 and injured 20 in the deadliest mass shooting in Texas history, should have been prohibited from buying a gun under U.S. law. A former airman with the U.S. Air Force, Kelley, received a bad conduct discharge from the military after charges of assault against his spouse and child led him to be court-martialed. Military members dishonorably discharged cannot legally purchase a gun, but Kelley's bad conduct discharge falls just short of that mark. Kelley apparently was not convicted of domestic violence in the incidents that led him to be disciplined. Such a conviction could have also legally disqualified him from gun ownership. But even if the assault charges didn't technically go down as domestic violence, assault alone can be treated as a felony, which should preclude gun ownership. And even if the charges didn't go down as felonies, the twin charges carried a maximum sentence of over a year in prison, and therefore should preclude gun ownership. Before all the facts of the case were known, liberals were quick to blame the NRA for the shooting. To prove that the left has little to no soul, check out some of the tweets from their prominent liberal lunatics in the media. And, of course, non-biased MSNBC reporter Joy Reid had to take it one step too far. Then berated foul-mouthed celebrity Chelsea Handler showed her utter contempt for Republicans in this nasty tweet. We could continue sharing the tweets and posts from these despicable human beings on the left, but we will just leave it there. These people have little to no class to use this sick and twisted crime to promote their liberal agenda of control under the guise of compassion. At this time, the only thing that these families need is prayer and love, and if the left cannot do that, then they should step back and let the adults take care of business. Follow us on Facebook at Freedom Daily.